Hello, and welcome to the Create a Life You Love podcast. I'm your host, Chantel Cox. My purpose is to empower and lift up others who know in their heart they're meant for more. More joy, more impact, and more passion. If you're ready to make a radical transformation and create a life that you love, then you have come to the right place. Let's do this. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of the Create a Life You Love video podcast, where we get to connect with people from all over the world to share tips and strategies designed to help you on your journey. I'm your host, Chantel Cox. I'm an author, speaker, transformation neurocoach, and certified life purpose coach. I specialize in helping women connect with their unique purpose to permanently remove the blocks that have been holding them back so that they can step into their full potential and live an aligned and fulfilling life of impact. Quick reminder, this is being streamed live, so those of you with us, please feel free to put any comments and questions in the chat, and we will get to it as it makes sense in the flow of our conversation. And if you're catching the replay, go ahead and just use hashtag replay, and we will be sure to get right back to you. So I'm super excited to be here today with Paul Forchione. Paul was born with cerebral palsy, and it was so severe that the doctors told his mom he would never be able to walk. So thank goodness for a wonderful mom and a great mindset. That is not his story. He was able to overcome it and is now able to live a very active life. This was not easy, however, to get to that point. So today, as a mindset coach, Paul shares his story with his clients to help them rewrite their own stories to go after their true dreams and desires. Hey, Paul, how are you doing today?
I'm well, Chantel. How about yourself?
Oh, just fantastic, other than this little tickle in my throat here, but
It's the
yeah,
season.
it is. It is. So share with us where you're joining us from.
Long Beach, California, south of LA.
Very nice. Very nice. Is it nice and warm there this time of year, or what's the weather like?
Yeah, I don't want to make anybody jealous, but if you guys aren't from Southern California, we have what we have on the summer. We have hot, and in the winter we're warm. So we do not have too many seasons.
You know, I could live with those seasons. I would not be sad with that at all. Here in Kansas today, it was like 60 degrees. Tomorrow, the high is 32. So I don't know
Yikes.
why my throat is all funky, when it goes up and down like that. But anyway, so I'm just absolutely fascinated with your story. And I know I got to connect with you on your podcast and share my story. And so now I'm really excited to hear all about yours. And so tell us about your story, your journey, and how you created a life that you love.
Right. Thank you for that. So if your viewers don't know what cerebral palsy is, it's lack of oxygen to the brain at labor. And as a result of this lack of oxygen to the brain at labor, it can leave one side of the body paralyzed and it can affect your speech. And these are things that are permanent. These do not go away. So when I was born, I wasn't moving the right side of my body very much. And naturally, my mother was very concerned about that. So she got me to get some testing done to see what the problem was. And it did indeed come back that I did suffer from cerebral palsy at birth. And the doctor thought it was so severe at the time that he thought I would never, ever be able to walk. And when I got to a certain age, it would be a good idea to get me into a wheelchair because that was going to be my life going forward. And I've had conversations with my mother about this. And naturally, she was very, very devastated when she heard that news that her baby boy may not be able to walk. I think she said she cried herself to sleep. And the next morning, when she woke up and she was getting me ready to start the day, she said that I gave her a look, if to say, don't let this be my story, Mom. And whatever that was, that mama bear inside of her started roaring. She made it a mission that she was going to make sure that I was able to walk. So she got a second opinion, a third opinion, a fourth opinion, a fifth opinion, finally found a physician willing to help. And with this physician's help and me doing physical therapy 5 to 6 times a week and my mom's unrelentless attitude to make sure that I walked, I was able to walk at age 3. Now, I don't really remember that, but obviously that was huge in my young life. But I do remember being put into soccer when I was about 5 years old. And at the time, I probably could only run about 25 to 50 yards before my leg would give out. So I'm basically standing there on the soccer field while these other kids are playing soccer around me. And I'll never forget what my mom told me one day after practice. I told my mom I didn't want to play soccer anymore. And my mom telling me, Paul, if you don't want to play soccer anymore, that's fine. But you need to honor your commitments. So you need to finish out that soccer season. And after that, if you don't play soccer anymore, that's fine. And I've taken that lesson of honoring my commitments ever since that day. And I'm 41 years old and I haven't played soccer since, but I did finish out that soccer season. So I did at least that. But I got a big break when I was 6 or 7 years old. I got surgery on my right foot to tighten up the tendon, to give me a little bit more spring in my step. And I did not know how much of a game changer this was going to be for me until my first day at my new school, my first day of PE, physical education. We did our stretches, and the teacher says, okay, guys, run a lap. And I'm thinking to myself, here we go again. I'm going to run 25 to 50 yards. I'm going to have to stop. These other kids are going to see that, and they're going to start to tease me. But because of my surgery, it was different. I was able to go past that point where I normally have to stop. But I remember saying to myself, come on, Paul, you got this, buddy. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And I finished the lap with the other kids. On the outside, I kept it cool, but on the inside, I was like, yes, yes, yes. The first time in my young life where I just fit in, I didn't stand out. It was huge, huge, huge for me. And because of my surgery, things did get easier for me, but I wouldn't consider them easy. My parents got divorced when I was about 12 or 13 years old. So I had to switch schools. And that's a tough age to switch schools at. You know, kids are becoming teenagers, they're becoming through hormonal changes. And a lot of them have gone to school with each other for years and years and years. So they already formed their cliques and they don't have any room for any new kids. So just being a new kid alone is going to be tough in that situation. Well, I'm a new kid that walks with a limp and holds his right arm a little bit differently. So it's even tougher for me. So when I got into that school, I could not break in. I could not make any friends. I'm being bullied and teased in school. I'm trying to play sports with these other kids and nobody wants to be my friend. And on top of all this going on, I was raised Catholic. So my mom wanted me to go to a Catholic high school. So I had to take an assessment test to see where they were going to place me when I got to high school. Well, when I took the test, I must have bombed it because when I met with the principal and my mother, the principal tells the both of us they're going to put me at the lowest level possible. And she doesn't expect much from me. I don't seem like I'm college material. After one test, this principal says this to me. So now, not only I'm being bullied and teased in school, now I think I'm stupid. And I'm crying myself to sleep most nights, saying to myself, why me? Why can't I just fit in with everybody else? Why do I have to go through this? I hate this. I hate my life. I don't like this. And Chantel, I don't know what came over me, but midway through my 8th grade, I was sick and tired of feeling angry and sad all the time. Because of the environment I was in, those were my go-to emotions, but I knew deep down those weren't my go-to emotions. So I thought, what could I do to distract me from these feelings? And I thought, what if I set a goal for myself and I focus in on the goal and I kind of ignored the noise? So I thought, what could my goal be? And at the time, I loved baseball. So I said, why don't I try to make my varsity baseball team in high school? So I started playing fall ball, winter ball, spring ball. And if I wasn't doing that, I was throwing a tennis ball against the wall. And I never forget this. One of these coaches that I was playing with said, Paul, you play a lot of baseball. What do you want to do? Do you have any goals with this? And I really didn't want to tell him because I didn't want him to laugh at me on my goal to make my varsity baseball team. But he finally got it out of me. And I said it to him, and he paused for a second, and he said, that's doable. I'm like, what? That's doable? He goes, yeah, it is doable. But you got to have people keep you accountable. And I go, what do you mean by that? He goes, at the end of practice tomorrow, you're going to go in front of the team and tell the team that's your goal. And I'm like, no, 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 I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. They're going to tease and laugh at me. And he goes, you got to do that. You got to have people keep you accountable for your goals, Paul. So I said, okay. So I went from the team after practice. I was shaking and I told the team that was my goal and they started clapping for me. And I started to break down and cry. I was like, wow, I'm being embraced with this. And the great thing about this journey of going after this goal of making my varsity baseball team, I didn't know this now or then, but I know this now. I was changing the energy I was sending out to these kids. I started to have a little bit more confidence in myself, carrying my shoulders back, my head up. And as a result of this new energy I was sending out, they started sending a different energy back towards me. In other words, instead of bullying and teasing me, they started rooting for me. So my high school career was much different than my middle school career, all because of my energy shift and all because of the way I carried myself in school. And that alone is the win. The cherry on top of the whole thing was I was able to make my varsity baseball team as a junior and a senior. And my
Wow.
senior year, I pitched a 3-hit shutout. They poured the Gatorade on me, and I felt so alive. I felt so good about myself. And I graduated high school, and I really started to think about that goal. Somebody with cerebral palsy making a varsity baseball team, I thought that was impossible, but I was able to complete that. So I really started to think about what that principal said to me years earlier about not being college material. Um, and see, through high school, I pretty much mailed it in. I just did enough to stay eligible to play baseball because I thought, what's the point? I'm not college material. Why try any harder? Let's not waste time. Let's get the grades where I need to get and move on. So my grades weren't that great, but I thought to myself, why can't they be better? Why can't I be college material? So I enrolled into a junior college because that was the only place that would accept me at the time. I got myself a math tutor. I got myself another tutor. I went to the math lab. I did everything necessary to increase my grade point average. And with all this hard work, I was able to transfer to a 4-year university where I was able to graduate and become college material. And I so
Wow.
wanted to go back to that principal and say, see, you were wrong. I was college material. I have my degree. But in the end, I probably should thank her because all through college, I hit the books hard because I heard her voice saying that I wasn't college material many years earlier. So I don't know if that was her strategy or what, but it definitely motivated me to get through college and graduate. So now I'm 22, 23 years old. I have no life experience. I don't know what the heck I want to do with my life. And I had a family friend that was in the mortgage industry. He was the CEO of a small bank. And he said, what if I hire you to become a mortgage loan officer? We'll train you. And I said, well, I'm not doing anything else. Let's do it. Yeah, I'd love to do it. So I get in and no one wants to talk to me. I'm being shunned. I haven't felt that way since middle school. And I'm eating alone at lunch and it's just bad. And I quickly realized what the issue was. They all knew I knew the CEO. So it wasn't because of my talents, it's because of who I knew. So what they were going to do is they were going to chew me up and spit me out because I did not belong there. I didn't deserve to be there. And I thought to myself, no, I'm going to prove that I belong here. So I dug in. I didn't complain about the workload. I had a good attitude. And from afar, because they didn't want to talk to me, I was observing what the top loan officers did in the company. And I'll never forget my first day of wanting to go out in the field and get loans for the first time. My family friend stops and he goes, what are you doing? I go, I'm ready. I'm going to go out and get loans. And he looks at me. He's like, no. You are not ready. Let's get you some more training and then we'll get you out there. And I'm like, no. I got this. And he's like, all right. And I go out there and he's 100% right. I needed way more training. I was falling on my face left and right. I had no idea what the heck I was doing. But months would go by and I started to realize what value I could add to these clients. And when I started doing that, I started to get loans and more loans and more loans. And 2 years later, I became a top producer in this company. And the people that didn't want to come to me to talk to me when I first got there are now coming to me with questions on how I was able to turn things around at such a fast clip. And I really, really enjoyed the mortgage industry. And I thought this was going to be my career until I died or until I retired, rather. Then 2008, 2009 hit, and the economy just tanked it. I would get a job in the mortgage industry, and the whole company would go belly up, and then I had to get another job in the owners, and this cycle happened 3 or 4 times. So I started to lose the luster of being in the industry. And I'll never forget it. The last place I was at, there was this motivational speaker that they hired to talk to our sales team to kind of motivate us to bring in to increase our numbers. And the guy blew me away. The guy was tremendous. So after his presentation, I went up to him and told him how great of a job he did. And he was very, very gracious. He allowed me to pick his brain a little bit. He said he started as a life coach. I'm like, life coach? What in the heck is that? He explained that to me. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe that's what I want to do. So I started to get my coaching certificate while I was doing the mortgage stuff. And I started telling people that's what I wanted to get into. And people are kind of humoring me and going, okay, whatever, life coach, go out and get loans, bud, whatever, do it. And then things got real serious. I got my website up. I started posting stuff on my social media that I was starting this. And the legal team that I was with at the time said, what are you doing? And I was very transparent. I said I was going to do this on the side. I was still keeping the full-time job and the whole bit. And they're like, well, this could be a conflict of interest. We'll get back to you. I'm like, uh-oh, that does not sound very good. And they got back to me with this 5-page report on what I couldn't say. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to make any traction in the coaching world if I follow this to the T. There's just no way. So I spent a year paying down all my debts, doing everything necessary to take this leap of faith. And a year later, I quit. And people are like, what in the heck are you doing, man? You just made President's Club. You're a loan officer. This life coaching thing's a pie in the sky. Let's stop this. And I'm like, no, I want to give this a real go. And they're like, okay, you'll be back. And for a while, I thought they were going to be right because I was not getting any traction. I wasn't getting any clients. Nobody wanted to trust me. It was pretty hard. And I started to realize what the problem was. The problem was, how do I expect people to be vulnerable with me if I'm not vulnerable with them? See, the story I told you about having cerebral palsy, I wanted to bury that story because all through growing up, all I wanted to do was fit in. I didn't want any special treatment. I just wanted to be like everybody else. And the thought of talking about having cerebral palsy or somebody see me limp, I used to make up excuses. And if I had to go there, I'd be near in tears. But I thought the only way I'm going to get traction in doing this is if I own it. So I started telling my story. And it was shaky at first because I was really scared to tell my story. But I started doing it over and over and over again. And I'll never forget it. My first client comes to me and goes, Paul, I don't have cerebral palsy, but I have X, Y, and Z. And I think you understand me. I would be honored to hire you as a coach to help me through this. And we've been building from there. And now I'm on a mission to have people take back their pen and write the story they want for their lives, not for anybody else, but for themselves. Take back your pen and write your own story.
I love it. It's so powerful, so powerful. Um, yeah, and so you left around 2007. So, but when did you start this coaching business?
I guess it was gotta been 2016.
Yeah, so still fairly new in the whole coaching thing because
Mm,
now in 2022, you throw a rock and you're going to hit five coaches, or five
yeah,
people that call themselves coaches, right?
yeah,
So, but yeah, back then, yeah, just really going after something that people didn't understand, and it was pie in the sky, and that you did not let that stop you, and that's awesome.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah. And so your whole thing is kind of like taking back the pen, rewriting your story. And so do you help people like actually like become authors and write their stories, or what does that look like?
I haven't helped an author yet, but that would be pretty cool to do. No, it's a metaphor. Basically, I've helped people like, for instance, I helped somebody that was paralyzed from the waist down from a car accident. Naturally, their spirits weren't very high, and we focused on what we can do and what we can't do. Or somebody that was going through a divorce, or somebody that got didn't get the promotion, or just different things that people go through. It was funny. I started with people with limiting disabilities, such physical disabilities, but it's turned into so much more through just coaching other people and word of mouth and such. But so I've helped out different people. I'm actually helping out somebody in the golf world, not with their golf game, because if I help them with their golf game, they would go down. But actually with their mindset. So it's now it's just all different gamuts. And now I'm developing workshops that I do for organizations, and now that's keeping me busy. And as I told you before, we're going to start doing them in person again because there's nothing better than having that in-person feel. So basically, with these workshops, it's helping people get out of their comfort zone, uh, giving a space for people to be vulnerable, because vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. And I found that out when I started coaching, that was the case. I didn't know that before that, but I know that now. And that's a big basis of my coaching, is making sure that people have a space to be vulnerable, where they can tell me things and know that it's not going to go any further than what I, our conversation with each other. I think that's so important in the coaching world because I found out through coaching that I don't tell anybody what to do. I don't tell anybody what to do. I ask questions and bring it out of them, and I keep people accountable and I keep people motivated, but I never, ever, ever tell anybody what to do unless it's something of danger or something like that. But you know what? The client knows what to do. I'm just bringing it out of them. They already have the greatness inside of them. And my job is just to show that they have the greatness. And boy, they do. Every single one of my clients have the greatness.
Love it. Spoken like a true coach right there. Absolutely. And so, as you're working with clients, what are tips and strategies that you would like to share with today's audience of how they could create a life that they love?
First things first, before you go after your goals, desires, whatever that may be, the first things first is we got to feel good about ourselves. Number one, if we do not feel good about ourselves, it's very, very hard to accomplish any goals or set goals or go after it. Because when things get tough and we don't feel good about ourselves, that's when we give out excuses to go, oh, that's just too hard. Maybe I don't want to do it. Maybe that. But when you feel good about yourself and you feel confident about yourself, and then you set that goal and you said from hell or high water, I'm going to make this goal work. And when a setback comes back, you're going to stop for a second, go, oh, man, this is bad. But you're going, this is no way this is going to stop me. I'm going to find a way over that wall. And the only way you can do that is feeling good about yourself. So first things first is we got to give ourselves that self-love. And one of the things that I like to tell my clients to do, a practice, is this, and I do it myself, is when you wake up in the morning, before you start your routine, I don't know what it is, whatever it is, think about something that's going right in your life right this moment. And then the next day, think of something else. Every day, think of something new. And then what that does is that primes your brain to look for positive things that happen in your day. It could be something on your phone saying free coffee. Up, the day keeps getting better and better and better. Because we can go the opposite way, right? You could have negative things in your head and you could be driving to work and get a flat tire and go, that's just my luck. This would happen to me. I would have a flat tire going to work. And I would say to that individual, yeah, that does happen to you because you're seeking it out. You're seeking all the negative things that could happen in your day. And those are first and foremost in your mind. How many times do you buy a new car, right? And you haven't seen that car on the road before, but now that you bought that car, you see it all over the place. That's the same thing with the positive and negative mindset. If you're seeking your mind to see positive, their mind will seek for it. If you seek your mind for negative, your mind will seek negative. So that is the number one thing that we got to do. And also we got to give ourselves grace. Not every day is going to be sunshine and roses. We're going to wake up some days and be like, I just want to put the pillow over my head. I don't want to wake up. And that's okay to feel that way. Never, ever bottle up your feelings. If you're sad, if you're angry, it's okay. We're human beings. Go ahead and feel your feelings. But there's going to be a time where you're going to say to yourself, I don't want to be angry anymore. I don't want to be sad anymore. And that's when you put in that practice of gratitude that I spoke about. What is going well in your life right now? There is always something. There's always something. So those are a few of my tips there.
I love that. Yes, just when your brain starts focusing on that gratitude, it can't have the depression and anxiety. Like it's not possible to have both at the same time. And so you get to choose, right? And it's okay to feel your feelings and run out those feelings of anger, sadness, whatever it is you're feeling. But when you're ready to no longer be a victim in that space, you have an option. And gratitude is the quickest way to pull yourself out of that. I love that you mentioned that. So true, so true. Just a reminder, anybody with us live, any questions or comments you have for Paul, go ahead and drop them in the chat and we will get to them in our flow. And so, um, talk a little bit about, because so much about mindset is like the stories we're telling ourselves and our internal dialogue. So, what would you want to share with anybody about that? What are your advice around that?
We say things to ourselves that sometimes we wouldn't even say to our worst enemies, but we say to ourselves on the daily basis. And that's not okay. That's really not okay that we say these horrible things to ourselves because they're not true. They're just thoughts. They do not have to be your reality. So my suggestion on something of that nature is take a few days, and I know you can't get every thought, but jot down what your thoughts are periodically during the day. Write it down. Don't judge yourself. Don't judge yourself whatsoever. Just write it down. Write it down. Do this for a couple days. After a couple days, look back on what you wrote about yourself. And if a lot of it is negative, don't beat yourself up about it. You're not alone. A lot of us do that. But now you can start to change it because you're aware that you're saying these things. Now, when these thoughts come on your head, you can correct yourself and go, nope, that's not my reality. You look in the mirror and say, I'm heavy. No, you know what? I'm going to do something about that. I'm going to, after work today, I'm going to take a walk, and I'm not going to go to I'm not going to eat that sandwich today. I'm going to eat something different. I'm going to eat something that's going to give me a little bit more energy so I can walk. Change the dialogue in your head. And this is something that you will never, ever, ever master. It's a working progress every single day. So the moment somebody tells me, and I've had clients tell me this, oh, I've got this. It's on autopilot now. I'm like, oh, that's the worst thing. When you start saying that, it's done. You're going to fall back. So you gotta just understand that this is just a working progress. We're just a working progress. We're human beings, and it's all about enjoying the journey, enjoying it. This what's going on right this moment in time, not who you were in the past, not who you want to be in the future, but right now. Because I got to tell you something: if you're not happy now, I don't care what success you get in the future, it's not going to be sustainable. And you can even win the lottery and be a billionaire. And for a while, yeah, you probably will be happy because you buy things that you never had before in your life. But all of a sudden, after you use the money, you're going to default back to who you are right this moment. And so if you're not happy with yourself now, you'll default right back to those emotions.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you're right, it is a journey. I say it's new level, new devil, right? You may master your thoughts around who you are today, but who you are tomorrow is hopefully a little bit, you've grown some, you're out of your comfort zone more. So new things are going to come up that were not part of your journey when you mastered that, right?
Yeah.
So it is ongoing for sure. Definitely. And you kind of mentioned, waking up every morning and really focusing on gratitude. I do like to ask all my guests if they have any daily non negotiables.
Yeah, that's one of them for me is I mean, I like to write it down. I'm a visual person, but even if, those days, like I said, where I just want to put that pillow over my head and go back to sleep because I'm just not feeling good or I had a poor day the day before, but I still force myself to think about something that I am grateful for, and I can always come up with something. See, it's all about perspective. It's weird to say this, but no matter what problems you have today, there is somebody in the world that would trade your problems in a heartbeat. We need to remember that. I mean, we are lucky in so many ways of how we live our lives, and we just need to remind ourselves about that every day.
Agreed. Yeah. Because it can get so easy to get kind of bombarded by the things coming at us day to day. Life does throw a lot at us and it takes a certain level of energy. And we don't always have that energy, especially if we're not fueling our body with the right foods and getting enough sleep and staying hydrated and doing some of those basics. So, yeah, just always staying on top of it and being mindful. I love that. Your message is just empowering, and it's really allowing people to rewrite their own story and not be a victim to what the past stories are, whether that was in their head and maybe not based on reality, or it could be based on reality, right? So
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely. And not comparing yourself to anybody else. I mean, especially we talk about the coaching world, and you mentioned that there's a lot of coaches, especially after 2020 with the pandemic and such. And we some of these coaches that I talk to on a daily basis, and I'm sure you do too. and they start comparing themselves to people like Tony Robbins, Mel Roberts, all these people that have millions and millions of followers, and they're like, oh, I'm not at that level. And I go, what are you talking about? Why are you, don't compare yourself to anybody else. There's no, you do not know where their starting line is, and you do not know where their finishing line is. So it's impossible to compare yourself to anybody else. If you want to get into coaching or you want to get into this, just be the best person you can be. I mean, I've had people that said, you know what, I just want to be the best mother. And that is fine. That's awesome. Then be the best mother, be the best father, be the best son, be the best daughter. Don't have to have these grandiose things and you feel bad that, oh, I don't want to scale Mount Everest. Well, that might not be your dream. What I think is whatever gives you that fire in the belly, whatever that is, that could be baking. If that gives you the fire in the belly, then do it. Do what makes you happy and don't worry about what other people think about it. When people say, oh, that goal's too small, if that gives you a fire in the belly, don't worry about it. If somebody says, oh, that goal's too big, same thing. If that gives you the fire in the belly, go for it. Don't let anybody deter you from going after the things you want to go after. Now, don't use these goals as an excuse. Obviously, you got to be truthful with yourself. Does it really give you that fire in the belly? Does it really make you happy? And if it does, then do it. If it doesn't, don't lie to yourself.
Absolutely. And it's allowing ourselves to listen to the intuition because we were put on this planet for a purpose. And so finding that purpose, connecting with that purpose, and allowing ourselves to dream and see and envision ourselves in that purpose and not talk ourselves out of it because of whatever limiting beliefs are standing in our way or whatever shoulds we've put on ourselves from the society around us and expectations that we think belong there. So, yes, I love that.
Yeah, no question about it.
Yeah, awesome. And so, talk to us a little bit about. I know you are moving back into some in person events there in Southern California, but I know you also do a lot in your online community. So, share a bit about what's going on there so when people go connect with you, as I know that they will want to, they know what to expect and what to look for.
I appreciate that question. Yeah. So I developed a Facebook group called Rewrite Your Story, which I thank you, Chantel, for being a member of the group. And it's a community from people around the world that they're allowed to share their stories with no judgment, only support. We're just there to support each other. We're not there to bring anybody down. We want to, if they have some wins, we want to celebrate their wins. If they're down, we want to support them. And on top of that, we have a monthly meetup end of the month where same thing. We do it in a virtual in-person setting where people can share what's been going on in their lives, and we have a group of people to support each other and lift each other up if we're down. The great thing about it is if somebody has an issue of some sort, there's somebody in the group that says, oh, you know what, I went through that a year ago, this is what I did. And it's just great that we have this community where people can talk it out and they know they're not alone. I think that's huge. I have people that come up to me and go, Paul, I felt alone, but now with finding your group, I feel like I'm part of community and I can reach out to your group anytime and I can go to your meetups and I feel so good. And that's the reason why I set that up. So that's really big. And we're going to start getting into in person again with the pandemic. Hopefully things get better with the pandemic and such, but I'm working on that where again, it's going to be a workshop where we're going to take back our pens and we're going to start to write the story that we want for ourselves. How we're going to do that? One is we're going to get ourselves out of that comfort zone. And I have an activity that's going to get everybody out of their comfort zone. And I'm going to give everybody that space, like I always do, to be vulnerable because it's going to be a space of no judgment, only support. So everybody that's there will be able to share and feel supported. And we're going to be able to clear our minds so we can set goals that we truly want to go after. And most importantly, take back that pen and start writing that story. And that's what we're working on. So that's coming up in March. So I'm really excited about that.
That's super exciting. And I know just the impact that you're out there making. And then what's beautiful too about your space is you're helping people become vulnerable, step out of their comfort zone, own their story, rewrite their story, and then they're going to go and make an impact in their own way. And so the ripple effects that you are creating, Paul, are just absolutely amazing. So thank you for doing what you do.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So, kind of looking at the time here, I want to make sure that everybody knows how to connect with you. So, you've got your Facebook group, anywhere else people should look for you, and we'll get all the links in the show notes too.
Absolutely. The other way would be on my website, a call to action.coach. You can set up an appointment on my website, or if you're old school, my cell phone's on there. So if you want to book an appointment by just calling me, let's do it. So those are the two ways to get in touch with me, through my Facebook group, Rewrite Your Story, and through my website. And then also on my website, I have an ebook, free. Just download it, on how I was able to rewrite my story, how you can rewrite your own story, and how to maximize your day. And that's on there as well. So if you want to see a little bit more about my backstory, it's free. Just click on my website, a call to action.coach, and you can get it for free.
Love that. Do you think you'll ever get into the self publishing or publishing world?
Yeah, eventually I will want to do that, but again, it's all about that fire in the belly. I just don't have that fire in the belly just yet. It's getting close. It's heating up, but it's not quite there yet. I have other things that are that are heating up, and those are the workshops. That's really what's firing my belly up right now, is the workshop. So once we get the workshops going, then maybe we'll get into the publishing world. I know that's what you did, right? That you got into the publishing world. So I know it's a great tool, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, you got to listen to that intuition and follow your gut for sure. And that's where my journey started, right? I thought I was going to share my story, be done. I wrote a book, period. Okay, move on, right? I had no idea the doors it would open and what stepping out of my comfort zone in that way and owning my story so vulnerably would open for me. So, again, just what you're doing just speaks so near and dear to my heart because it's so important. It's really, really important work that's being done over there in your community. So, everyone definitely go connect there. Um, Anything else that you want to make sure to share?
Yes, I want to share this. Every single person in this world has a unique talent.
Mhm.
It's up to us to find out what that unique talent is. And once we find out what those talents are, it's up to us to share it with the world to see. If you believe, you can achieve.
I love that. So true. So true. So now the special educator in me just really wants to ask, because I do have several educators that are in my world, in my group and whatnot, just because that's what I do as a career. And so, as a kid growing up and having some of those um, fears and insecurities, like what would be your advice to educators to really show up and be an advocate?
I think for educators, I think the two things that would help me as a kid, and just looking at it from the outside look, is show compassion for both the person who is being bullied and bullied. Both
Mm,
show compassion, because both sides have a story. There's a reason why something's going on both ends, and we need to know both sides of the story and why that's going on. And having patience. Patience is a virtue. It truly is, especially with children. Sometimes we just don't get things as fast as adults do, and we need that extra patience and that extra love to say, you know what, I don't get it, and just go slow it down a little bit. I think is huge. But just that compassion for both sides of the story, I think it's huge. I think in my story, somebody's asked me, like, what do you feel about those kids that bullied you in middle school, Paul? And my true answer is, I forgive them,
mm,
because I don't know what really was going on in their childhood outside of school. I don't know. I mean, they might have had a rough go of it, and they didn't know how to express themselves, so they took it out on me. So you know what? I forgive them, and I'm sure if I talk to them now about it, I'm sure there's some things that they probably feel bad about, and we all move on, and so got to give people grace.
I love that. And so powerful to really think about both sides because you're right. Most people, kids and adults, that find themselves on the bullying side of things. There is something deeper going on there, and some type of hurt and pain that they're trying to, yeah, deflect, get out of themselves.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I don't want to
unfortunately,
make any excuses for anybody. I mean, if you're not kind, you're unkind, but there's got to be a little bit of compassion there. I mean, obviously there should be punishment, obviously. If you're not following the rules, there should be punishment, but there should also be compassion on why you're doing the things you're doing.
100%. Well, this has been amazing, and thank you. I see three of you on with us live, so thank you for joining us. Again, while we kind of wrap up, if there's a question that you want to throw in the chat, we will get to that here in just a moment. But yeah, so I just really want to make sure everybody knows all your links. If you're watching live, they're already in the description, but we'll make sure it's in the replay notes and the show notes when it goes out on all the podcasting platforms, which will be Monday. The podcast episodes typically get dropped Monday mornings at 6 a.m. Central
Yay.
Time. Yeah. So you'll be podcast
Start your
famous.
day on the right foot, right?
Yep. Start your week off right with some Create a Life You Love podcast.
Right.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Paul. Any last zinger? You've already shared so many.
No, I just think that the only thing is enjoy your journey, whatever that is. Enjoy it, because you just don't know, tomorrow's not guaranteed for you. So enjoy the right now and do what you want to do it now. Don't have regrets.
I love that. One life to live, right? And we don't,
right.
We're not guaranteed tomorrow.
Yep. I think that's a soap opera, isn't it? One life to live.
Probably. I don't know. I think that does sound vaguely familiar, but I was never really a soap person. Watching the stories.
I think that's how my grandma said, the stories.
Yeah. Oh man, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Paul, and thank you everyone for joining us live or listening on whatever platform you are listening on. We would just ask, if you got value out of this episode, please share it with someone you think would benefit from it. Leaving podcast reviews are also very appreciated, and you can quickly and easily leave one from any device by going to ratethispodcast.com/Khalil. That's CALYL for Create a Life You Love. Again, that's always linked in the show notes if you are interested in that. I'd love to invite you to come check us out tomorrow, 7 p.m., same place. We're doing a free masterclass. We're going to dive into time management, and it's called Putting the Pieces of Time Management Together, because a time management hack and strategy will only get you so far if you don't also master your brain. And so we're going to look at the neurocoaching model and how your brain and the stories you're telling yourself are keeping you safe and stuck in the familiar. And so we're going to untangle that so that then the time management strategies actually will work for you long term. So I will drop that link as well. Feel free to register and come check it out. And that is what we have for you this evening. Again, thank you so much, Paul. It's always a delight connecting with you. And everybody go connect with Paul in the Rewrite Your Story Facebook group.
Thanks, Chantel. I had a great time talking with you. Thank you for the opportunity, and you're doing some great work. And any way I can support you, you just let me know.
Awesome. Always reciprocated. Absolutely. So enjoy the journey, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Create a Life You Love podcast. I would love to hear from you about your biggest takeaways. Share them with me on Facebook or Instagram at Create a Life You Love Coaching. If you love this podcast, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. That's it for now. Enjoy the journey.